We are closing in on 1 week since the college football playoff national championship game between Alabama and Georgia. And folks, I still cannot believe how this game ended. The gamble Nick Saban took, the fact that the game went into overtime, and how the decision but Alabama chose to go with putting Tua Tagovailoa in for Jalen Hurts. It pays off in the end. Crimson Tide winning it 26-23, getting its second national championship of the playoff era, its fifth national title under head coach Nick Saban, and the 17th national championship in school history. Still mind blown by how it all worked out for the Crimson Tide on last Monday night inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But jumping from that to how Alabama needed both quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, in order to pull off this endeavor of winning a national championship. In the matchup against Georgia, Alabama's offense needed a spark bad. Could not move the football, could not stretch the field. Georgia's defense stacking the box, daring Jalen Hurts to throw it because they were not going to allow Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough, Josh Jacobs, and company to run the football. And Jalen Hurts could not get it going in the passing game. Did have a throw to Calvin Ridley where if he hits on this throw, it's a touchdown. Defensive back falls. Jalen slightly airmails the throw, or just completely airmails the throw, sets up a field goal. Andy Papanastis does not make the field goal, which will be a theme the entire night, but, you know, that's what happened. Tua Tagovailoa ends up coming in the second half. He goes 14 of 24 passing for 166 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have the interception, did take a bad sack in overtime, but had 3 touchdowns, including the game-winning 41-yard hookup from he being Tagovailoa, to freshman wide receiver Devonta Smith, getting the Crimson Tide the 26-23 win. Tagovailoa ended up winning the Offensive Most Valuable Player award. For Jalen Hurts, was not his best moment, was not his finest moment. 3 of 8 passing for 21 yards, average 2.6 yards per attempt. Probably his best play of the game, I believe, was a 40-yard run or a run of 40-plus yards, doing it with his feet. But that was probably his best play of the game. The last 2 months of the season, or the last 2 or 3 months of the season, he really kind of struggled with his confidence in throwing the football, trusting wide open receivers downfield, or trusting his teammates, for that matter, to make plays when he puts the ball in the air, being able to let go of the football and having his guys go up there to make a play. Despite the struggles he had, despite the issues he had, but because it has to be eating at him internally when you are the guy all last season. A Hurts so good hashtag was born when you win the starting job from Blake Barnett, Cooper Bateman, and David Cornwell. You played in all 15 games a season ago, 14 as the starting quarterback. I understand you had dogs on that defense last year, whether it was Reuben Foster, Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, Jonathan Allen, Dalvin Tomlinson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Eddie Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, Anthony Everett. There were dogs all over that defense last year. I understand it. If you want to make the argument that defense carried Alabama to a national championship game in 2016 and Jalen Hurts had nothing to do with it, I can see your point that you're trying to make. But still, Jalen Hurts had moments where he had to make a play and he made one. the LSU game, a 21-yard touchdown run. Starting to come from behind victory against Ole Miss with an 8-play, 50-yard drive that ended on a touchdown end-around play to Calvin Ridley. The game against Clemson, 2017 title game off the 2016 season. Jalen Hurts, not his best performance, 13 of 31 passing, but still, when you needed a score, the brother did put the ball in the end zone. He did put the ball in the end zone, rumbling 30 yards to the house for a touchdown. And then this season, with a defense that was banged up, guys dropping like flies, a new injury recorded every single week, I'm wondering why Nick Saban just did not have the guys out there with bubble wrap on, because people were getting hurt in practice. It wasn't just you were going hard. People would trip over a drill at practice and get hurt. Still wondering why the bubble wrap was not in question. But even with that, Jalen Hurts positioned the team for a playoff opportunity. Against Mississippi State, his best game passing, 242 yards. The final drive, 3 of 4 passing for 72 yards, including the 26-yard game-winning score to Devonta Smith. So he puts you in position to win. The last 2 years puts you in position to win. So it's right now eating at Jalen Hurts in the locker room when Nick Saban has to come to you and tell you, we love you, we appreciate you, we value you, you have put us in opportunities to win, you've done everything we've asked you to do, you are the model of what we have had at quarterback in all 11 years of my tenure. Just put us in position to win. Don't make a lot of mistakes, because that's the motto Nick Saban has had in 11 years. Whether it's been John Parker Wilson in the final stages, Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron, Blake Sims, and Jacob Coker. That's been the motto. Just put us in position to win. Don't make a lot of mistakes. That's been the motto. And when Nick Saban goes into that locker room at halftime, you're down 13-0, and you are telling Jalen Hurts, you've done everything that the model has asked of you to do, but we're switching from you to Tua Tagovailoa. It has to eat Jalen Hurts alive, because he's thinking, man, I've only lost 2 games. Man, honestly, I've only lost 1 game, because if the defense gets me 1-3 and out, I'm a national champion last year. It's got to be eating at Jalen. If the defense gets me 1-3 and out, if we stop Deshaun Watson 1 time, I'm a 2-time national champion. I'm a national champion as a true freshman starter, and the first to do it since Jamel Holloway, 1985 Oklahoma Sooner edition. It's got to be eating Jalen Hurts alive. He's sitting here thinking, Coach, I've won just about every game I've been a starter in. I'm the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, 2016. In 2 years, I've accumulated 6,670 yards of offense. I've accumulated 61 total touchdowns, which is second all-time in Bama history behind A.J. McCarron, who, by the way, has 80. I've done everything I've been asked to do, and on the biggest stage in college football, I'm going to be switched for Tua Tagovailoa, a freshman that we don't really know what he's got, and I have to sit there and take it. I have to sit there and take it. For any competitor, that has to eat at them. And Jalen Hurts is a better man than me. Because I remember, and I've never played a down of D1 football. I played high school ball, 3 years, Francis Marion High School. And I remember It was my junior year. We were playing against Dallas County. And one of my teammates, Jaquan Bates, we call him Jeep. Jeep gets hurt, wide receiver. And I'm looking around, and nobody wants to fill in for Jeep. Nobody gets off the bench with their pads on, cleats on, chin strap tightened up, mouthpiece in. Nobody gets off the bench and wants to go in for Jeep. I sit there, and keep in mind, the coaching staff is not trying to put me in. I look around. I see nobody's getting in. I buckle up my shoes. I put my helmet on. I tighten my chin strap. I tighten my pads. And I subbed myself in the game. Notice, the coach isn't looking. None of the players are paying any attention. I believe the Warner boys are taking the last hit of Gatorade. They ain't paying me no mind. I walk right in there. I walked right on the field, right into the huddle, take the call from the quarterback. The ball is snapped. I'm wide open. I can sit here, read a book, sip some tea, two-step, watch Oprah, hit the Dougie, do it all, and score all at the same time. I am wide open. Quarterback and me, we lock souls. Like our souls lock. And he still pulls the ball down, runs out of bounds, does not throw me the ball. His excuse, Steve, you are a decoy. We use you just to run. We were never planning on throwing you the football. Be that as it may, I subbed myself in. Why? Competitor. When you're a competitor, you want to play. And when you are the starting quarterback, it eats at you alive when somebody else has to take your spot. Jalen Hurts handled that with such grace. Jalen Hurts handled that with such grace. He's out there praying with Tua, encouraging Tua, hugging Tua, high-fiving Tua. He's the first on the field after every single touchdown drive that Tua had. Even after the pick and Tua comes off the field, Jalen's right there hugging him, sharing wisdom, praying with him, encouraging him, saying to him, I love you, man. You born for this. I know you can do this. I see it in you. That type of encouragement. You have guys that play pro ball in the NFL that get paid legally, getting paid millions upon millions of dollars, but don't do that. You got guys that play in the NFL and the NBA that if they're not the guy, if the offense isn't flowing through them, if they're not the main person, they sulk, they pout, they go on the sideline, and they completely disengage themselves from the action. They put a towel over their head, and they are completely disengaged from the action. And by the way, they're probably underneath their breath praying, God, I hope he sucks. God, I hope he messes up. God, I hope he throws a pick. God, I hope he turns the ball over. God, I hope everything goes wrong. All heck breaks loose. The crowd, our fans, believe he sucks, and the coaching staff puts me back in the game, and I can turn up, show up, stun up on these boys and let these people know, hey, while I was the man from the get-go. You got a lot of professional athletes and college people that do that. Got a lot of self-gratification that plays in athletics. But here's Jalen Hurts. Could have easily done this. Was the guy last year. Took this team to a national championship last year and is 1-3 and out away from winning it all. He may not be able to spin the ball quite like Tua Tagovailoa, but this dude, literally, cheering, screaming, encouraging, praying, loving, embracing, being right there for Tua. And to be honest with you, that's probably the biggest reason, second behind, of course, him praying in tongues and acknowledging divine intervention, which, by the way, if you acknowledge God, God will definitely acknowledge you. But second behind that, for Tua's success in the game, was seeing a quarterback with no animosity. Seeing a quarterback that wants to see you excel. Seeing a quarterback that wants to see you succeed. Keep in mind, folks, Jalen Hurts did not even have this last year for himself. Every time Jalen would score, there was no other quarterback coming off the bench congratulating him. There was no other quarterback coming off the bench to hug him. There was no other quarterback coming off the bench to embrace him. And you want to know why? Because they all left. Blake Barnett left mid-season. Holla at your boy, I'm gone. David Cornwell and Cooper Bateman both requested transfer waivers upon the very moment that Jalen Hurts became the guy. And if they would have left when they wanted to leave, i.e., the college football playoff national championship game, the week of that game against Clemson, yes, they chose to stay, but if they wanted to leave, if they would have left when they wanted to leave, do you want to know who was the next valuable option? The next viable option to back up Jalen should he have gotten hurt in that game? A walk-on. A walk-on, and my good friend Josh Paley was the next viable option. How about that? If Jalen Hurts would have gotten hurt, no pun intended, against Clemson in the 2017 National Championship game, the next viable option would have been a walk-on. And Josh Paley. When Jalen Hurts was going through his season last year, no other quarterback congratulated him. None. Tua Tagovailoa had a quarterback that congratulated him, that appreciated him every step of the way. And that's huge when it comes down to winning a championship. I got a chance to talk, and I take pride. I take a lot of pride and joy in building relationships with a lot of players on this team, with a lot of people around the program. And I talked with my man, walk-on receiver on the team. He told me that Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts love each other. They genuinely love each other. He told me, you wouldn't think that on a team where you have two quarterbacks that were the man in high school, they were the creme de la creme. Everything flowed through them. Everything depended on them. They were the guys in high school. You would think that a lot of animosity, or some animosity, some tension, some friction, some negativity would flow through two guys trying to battle for one job. But he tells me that's not the case between Tua and Jalen. They love each other. They genuinely respect each other. When Tua's out there balling, Jalen's jumping, yelling, screaming, high-fiving, chest bumping. I remember going back to the spring, going back to last April after the A-Day game, Jalen Hurts went to the media and he referred to Tua and the other freshman quarterback, Mac Jones, as his little brothers. He loves them. He loves them. After the game against Georgia, Jalen Hurts, in an interview with Marty Smith, you want to know what he said? It's been like this all year with Tua and I. I tell him all the time, you the man. You can ball. And he went out there and balled out for his team tonight. Show up for his team tonight. I knew he could do it. Jalen Hurts showing that support. Once again, you got a lot of people that play pro ball, but if it's not about them, they put that towel over their head and they disengage. Jalen Hurts did not disengage. Jalen Hurts full on support of Tua Tagovailoa, and that was needed. Tua Tagovailoa even appreciates the support because he goes out on Twitter today and talks about how he doesn't understand why the extra criticism of Jalen Hurts. He comes out and he says, look, this guy led us to the college football playoff. He led us to the national championship game. He led you to the national championship game last year, and then Tagovailoa stamps it by saying, if you are against Jalen, you might as well be against me too, because I love this guy. These two genuinely appreciate each other. Now, will Jalen Hurts transfer? That remains to be seen. Got a chance to talk to a lot of people. What I'm hearing, he will compete for the job against Tua in the spring. If he doesn't win, then there could be a situation where he may transfer, or it could be a situation where he may switch positions. When you look at guys like Antoine Randall, Julian Edelman, and Randall Cobb, same thing happened. All three of those guys started off playing quarterback, found out that the skill set at quarterback may not work at the next level, and may transition to receiver, and all three had stellar careers. Antoine Randall, Super Bowl champion for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Julian Edelman, Super Bowl champion for the New England Patriots after starting his football playing career, quarterback at Kent State before transitioning to receiver. And then, last but not least, Randall Cobb played quarterback at Kentucky, switched to receiver in the latter part of his career. And outside of Jordy Nelson, he is the most trustworthy man that Aaron Rodgers depends on for the Green Bay Packers. Randall Cobb also a Super Bowl championship guy. So Jalen Hurts could stick at quarterback at Alabama should he win out. If not, could switch over to receiver or could transfer out. But I look at this right here. If not for Jalen, Alabama would have not have been in the situation in either year, in either 2016 or this past season. If not for Jalen, Alabama wouldn't have been in the situation. Yes, Tua Tagovailoa played lights out. Beautiful. Incredible. Gave a spark. Very gifted passer. But you would not be in this situation if not for Jalen Hurts. Once again, not trying to give you a lesson in theology, but if it counts as one, here it is. Joshua took the people into the promised land. He did. In the book of Numbers, Joshua took the people into the promised land. But if it were not for Moses, the children of Israel wouldn't have made it to the door of the promised land. And poor Moses, he gets vexed so bad by the people, he ends up hitting the rock when all he had to do was speak to the rock. Of course, the rock gave forth water, but hitting the rock screws Moses out of a chance of entering into the promised land, and he ends up dying on Mount Nebo. But if not for him, the Israelites would not even make it to the door of the promised land. Same with Jalen Hurts. Tua Tagovailoa got you the ring, got you the natty, got you the title, but Jalen Hurts got you to the door in a year where defense was pretty banged up. Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts love each other. both of these guys, and it took both to win a national championship. We take another break here on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Stephen M. Smith. Upon our return, we get into Raekwon Davis, why the national championship game and the college football playoff period has a good, strong draft stock waiting for him upon next season. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.